everyone. So yesterday, April 1st, today's April 2nd, I had posted on my community tab that I needed your guys' prayers for my dad. So if you guys have been here for a while, you guys know that my dad was sick and he went on a 9-month recovery. And literally the day that we went for his last appointment, the doctor walked into the room and said, "Aren't you glad today's the last day you gotta see me?" And I said, Doc, I think things went bad. I need you to check him out. His skin does not look right. So he looked and goes, "You know what? I think you're right. Let's go get some tests done." So we did some testing and they said, "Okay, you know what? We are going to do a simple in and out procedure. You are going to come in, we're basically going to blow out your arteries, clean them out, and you'll be good to go. You get here in the morning and you go home in the evening at night." Okay, no problem. So that was our appointment for the 1st. Well, the appointment was supposed to be an hour and a half. They told me, okay, because I asked, well, how long is surgery going to be? And they said, "Oh, you know what? It's going to be an hour and 30 minutes, but we have the OR booked for 2 hours. So I'm like, okay. So they said as soon as he's out, we'll go ahead and put him in recovery and then we'll bring you back and you sit there with him until it's time to go home. I'm like, okay. So at 3 hours, I'm getting a little bit worried because I'm like, you know what? It should have been done. I understand maybe they took him back to recovery and wanted him to wake up before they let me go back, so I'm like, let me go ahead and ask. So the first girl says, "Oh, he's still in pre-op." And I said, "There's absolutely no way. I was there when they took him back to surgery. I saw them. I literally saw them wheel him off. There's no way that he still has not gone into surgery yet." And she's like, "Well, no, that's what my system says." So I said, "Okay, well, I want to talk to somebody else." That girl comes on and says, "It shows he's still in surgery." And I'm like, okay, well, that can't be possible because they told me that they only had the OR booked for 2 hours. So that doesn't sound right either. So she's like, "Okay, let me transfer you over to somebody else." So somebody else comes on and says the same thing, that he's still in the OR room. I'm like, well, can somebody find out, is he just hanging out there because you don't have somewhere to put him in recovery? What's going on? Because to me, it's not making sense, And while I'm waiting, I get a phone call and I don't know who it was. They just "Is this Nicole?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Okay, your dad's going to ICU." And I'm like, "No, my dad's supposed to go home. It's just a routine thing. He's supposed to go home." And he's like, "No, your dad's going to ICU." And I'm like, "Well, right now? Or is he in surgery?" I'm like, because the other people told me that he's still in surgery. And he's like, "Well, the system shows that he's still in the OR room, but he's going to ICU. So, you want to head out this way." And I'm like, "No, I'm actually here in the lobby, waiting." So he's like, "Okay." So I'm kind of freaking out at this point because I'm like, this make it make sense. He's supposed to go home. Why is he in ICU? And the last time he was in ICU he was really bad that we weren't sure he was going to make it. So I'm there and I'm waiting. 10 minutes goes by and I'm like, you know what? Let me go up to the front and ask this guy because now they've switched out. It's not a lady anymore. It's a guy that's up there. So I'm like, let me go and ask. Maybe he can give me something else. Maybe they got an update, right? So I go up there and I'm like, "Hey, can I get an update on my dad?" And he's like, "Yeah, okay, hold on." So he goes, I show he's still in the OR. And I'm like, okay, is he still having surgery or is he just there? And he's like, "Okay, well, hold on, let me find out." So he calls somebody and says, your dad's going to ICU. And I'm like, okay, I was told that, but I don't understand why. Like, what's going on? I'm like, is he alive? Is he not? Like, is he teetering on the edge here? Like, what is going on? So, he hasn't hung up the phone. The girl's still on the other line, so I'm guessing that she can hear me, because then he says, we don't know right now. I'm like, okay. So, a few minutes pass, and he calls me. And I go back over there, and he's like, okay, your dad is still in the OR, and he's going, to ICU when he gets out of OR. So I'm like, okay, but is he having surgery? He's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, this basically told me like 10 minutes ago. So at this point, basically, I don't know anything. So I go back, I sit down, I wait, and I get a phone call again. And they're like, your dad's up in ICU. I was told that you're here in the hospital. Like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm still on the second floor, right where you guys were supposed to be, right where you guys told me to be. So what do I do? And he's like, well, go ahead and head up to ICU. So I'm like, okay. Again, I asked him, like, is my dad alive? Is he fine? What's going on? He doesn't know anything. Okay. So I start making my way up to ICU. Well, when I was sitting there waiting, oh my God, I'm still kind of like trying to like calm my nerves right now, just thinking about it. So while I was sitting there waiting is when I had done the post on YouTube, if you guys could just pray for my dad, because I'm freaking out. Like, nobody is telling me anything other than he has to go to ICU. Nobody could even tell me if he was still in surgery or not. And like I said, the last time that he was in ICU, things weren't good. So I'm there by myself, kind of freaking out, trying to stay calm. I go up to ICU, and I get to like the first nurse. I'm like, you know what? I don't even know what room my dad's in. Can you let me know? And she's like, okay, let me look it up. Well, as she's searching his name, he calls me. So I'm like, I see the number, my dad's number. I'm like, okay, thank God, right? And yeah, it was my dad. So he's like, hey, come to my room. And I'm like, yeah, I'm right here. She was giving me the number. So he gives me the number. So, okay, I walk on over there, and I'm like, what the heck happened? And I'm like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm okay. He's like, are you okay? And I'm like, not really, And I'm like, what happened? And when they do this, he's like awake, he says, but kind of like sedated, like he can't feel anything, definitely, but like he's still awake, and he can still talk, and can still, hear everybody and what's going on. So he said that he kind of immediately knew that something was wrong, because they're like, call this person in, call this person in, call this person next. And it went from like 4 people being in there to like almost a dozen. So like he started figuring out like something was going wrong, but he didn't know exactly what. In the end, we find out that his 1.5-hour surgery turned into 3.5 hours. So way longer than what it should have been. And what happened was, when they started, they ended up finding blood clots. So they were trying to get them out, trying to clear everything out, and it just was not working. So that's why it just took so long. And he even said that like there was like an intercom or something, and he could hear where they're like, checking if you guys are still in there. And, they're like, yeah, we're still here. And he said like, it's probably like at the 2-hour mark, and then, like at the 3-hour mark, and then they call it like, okay, you guys still in there? And they're like, yeah, we're still here. So, yeah, that's basically where we're at. So I kind of like freaked out and panicked, and in the end it ended up being okay. But when they tell you like he's going to ICU and we've had a bad experience before, of course I like immediately freaked out. So I get to talking with the nurse, and I'm like, okay, well, why is he in ICU? And he said that because they have him on 3 types of blood thinners, that he has to be there, and he has to be well monitored. And literally every hour they go in, they check all his vitals, they look for a pulse in his foot and his legs, and what else are they doing? Oh, and they were making sure that he's not bleeding from anywhere, because they want to make sure that they're not over medicating him, that he starts bleeding, because he could bleed out of any hole apparently. So they do a check for that every hour. So I was there basically all day. I woke up at 3:30 in the morning. I think I left there about 6:30 because of course I was hungry, I was tired, like mentally exhausted, and he's like, you know what, just go ahead and go home and come back in the morning. So I'm like, okay. So I got home, I basically ate dinner, and I crashed. I was out. Got up today, went back over there, and they did surgery again for a second time. So yesterday when they did surgery, they left the line in because they said, okay, you know, we could just use that same line and do surgery again tomorrow, which is today. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. So like, he can't move because they're like, no, you don't want to, you know, pull it out and then, you know, you could possibly bleed, whatever. So today they didn't have like a time for him, so it was basically like sit and wait. So that's what we did today, and they finally took him in, and I asked again, well, like, how long do you think surgery will be? They said it should be about an hour because he already had the line in, so, you know, they just needed to, you know, clean all the gunk out, you know, is how they put it. And I'm like, okay. So he goes into surgery again today, and I'm like, I need to go get food. I'm not gonna go all day long without eating again, so let me run to go get food. So I ran. I got food. Okay, so this is how my life is a mess. Oh my god, I don't even know if I should be telling this story, but I am. So I go get food, and you know, there's nice restaurants around there. Like, it's kind of far from my house, so I don't go out that way. But, you know, I see, like, on Instagram that, you know, there's some nice looking food out in this area, right? So I'm like, let me just drive around, see what catches my attention, and I'll just stop. So I'm driving around, and I see this pretty large building, and there's a big sign that says daily free lunch from 11 to 3. So I'm like, let me stop there and see what's going on. You know, so I'm like, you know, what's the deal here? And I'm like, oh, maybe it's like a homeless shelter, you know, and I can like grab a meal and not eat alone, meet some people, donate some money, see if I can volunteer here. Why in my crazy mind did that make sense? I don't know. But at that moment, it made sense. So I get down, and the free lunch, okay, it's like a large single-story building. This free lunch place is a strip club. Oh my god. I'm like, what did I just do? So I run out of there like Speedy Gonzalez. I'm like, I'm out. What was I thinking? You know, and then I get in my car. I'm like, crazy. How did that make sense to you? Like, what? You know, so yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did this. So I leave, and right there in the corner is a Jack in the Box. I'm like, okay, I'm getting Jack in the Box, and I'm gonna eat in my car like the lonely loser that I am right now, that I thought this was a good idea. So that's what happened. And then I went back to the hospital, and I just went and I sat in his room, and I waited for him to come out. So apparently they did surgery for 2 hours today. They gave themselves a max of 2 hours. And at 2 hours they stopped, and apparently that line that they had left in that was supposed to make things easier for today was clogged. So they actually had to take time to remove it, insert a new one, and basically start all over like they did yesterday. My dad was not a happy camper. He said this time it hurt a lot more, that he was able to feel things a lot more, and yeah, it was just not a good time, which I couldn't expect. So the nurse that actually was in the OR with him said that, yeah, his blood is like jelly right now. It's just very thick and like jelly. So tomorrow he is going in for a third time. So he's been there 3 days. He will be at day 3 of having surgery. So back-to-back surgery. So I will again be spending the day at the hospital. Today he told me, he's like, don't come, you know, until it's surgery time. You know, stay home, you know, take care of Sonny, and, you know, just come when it's time for surgery. Because he doesn't want to be alone for that, which is understandable. So I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. You know, I'll definitely be back before you have surgery. So they're supposed to call me in the morning and let me know what time that's happening at, so that way I can go ahead and head over there and make sure that I'm there in time. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. So he did get food today. They weren't going to give him food. They're like, no, you can't eat because you have surgery tomorrow. But I was like, isn't this basically like the surgery came in on Monday, and the rule then was, you know, don't eat after midnight. So I'm like, why doesn't that apply for today? They called the doctor, and the doctor just cleared it that, yeah, he could go ahead and have a meal today, which he was happy about. But they brought the food, like it took forever that I kept like calling, because they said like, oh, be there in 15 minutes. And when it wasn't, I called and like, hey, where's this food? And it ended up taking like an hour before they brought the food. And at that time, they had already started his dialysis. And on days that he does dialysis, he doesn't eat when he gets home because it makes him sick. He gets very nauseous. So he tried eating during dialysis, and he hardly ate anything. He just, yeah, he was just not feeling good. Like I said, he was just not, you know, feeling himself, you know. So I'm like, which again is understandable. You know, he's had surgery 2 days in a row, and they're literally in there, you know, every hour. So even sometimes, you know, like every half an hour, the nurse will go in and be like, hey, you guys good? Okay, you know, bye. Which is really nice. You know, I'm not worried about, you know, them taking care of him at all. You know, they've been pretty good at checking on him. So, and he has his phone, so he's able to call me if he needs to. But yeah, that's the little story on update of why I was asking for prayers for my dad yesterday, because I was in a panic, not knowing what was going on. And so yeah, he's still in ICU today. He will remain there tomorrow because, like I said, due to the medications they have him on, they are just keeping him there to make sure that, you know, he's fine. So, which is fine with me now that I know kind of what's going on. But I even asked, you know, like, well, why? Yeah, blood clots, like what could have caused this? They're like, we don't know. Honestly, I mean, I could be wrong, but I honestly think that him recovering from the last surgery and being on bed rest for so long, I think played a factor into it. You know, but is it? I don't know. I can't say for sure, but to me, that's kind of what I'm thinking, because I'm like, you know, what brought this on? But, you know, who knows? So anyways, that's my little story for today. I don't really know when I will be doing more videos. I did do a haul of this stuff because I need to. It's a sponsored video, so that'll be up, I don't know, maybe the same day as this or the day after. I'm not quite sure. I don't know when I will get back to making videos. I got a lot of stuff to do still on. I have stuff to haul that I bought. I'm supposed to be finishing that spring swap that I need to mail out. So I don't know. And there's like, I don't want to take with me to the hospital. Like, it would be ideal because I have nothing but time in there, but really there's like no space to like try to craft, you know, so it doesn't make sense. And then like by the time I get home, like yesterday I ate and I passed out. Today I got home, I ate, I watched a show with Sunny to make sure like I had time with Sunny. And then, you know, I'm out here doing these 2 videos, and then, you know, I honestly need to go to bed, but I really need to like do laundry and like make sure everybody's good before I head out again, because like I said, I don't know when I'm going to be able to like catch up on things. So yeah, that's basically where my life is at right now. And I can't even remember if I thanked you guys. I'm so sorry if I didn't thank you guys already. I want to thank you guys so much for all of the prayers. You guys are amazing. If you've reached out to me lately on Instagram or in an email, I'm sorry. I just haven't even bothered to check those. Even in comments, I should be sitting there replying back to comments, but it's literally, I'm there, I'm on the phone, you know, there's a nurse coming in, there's a doctor coming in, there's somebody coming in that I don't I haven't even really checked that either. So maybe tomorrow I'll get some time to go ahead and go through some of the comments and, you know, thank you guys, because I do really appreciate it. I'm sorry if this video is boring. I'm sorry if I just sound so blah, because I kind of feel blah right now. But yeah, all right, well, thank you guys so much for listening to me. Thank you guys so much for always being so supportive. You guys are just really amazing, and I super appreciate you guys. You have no idea that in a moment where I like felt alone and needed prayers, I know you guys, you know, I know you guys came through. I don't even have to go look on YouTube to see if there was any comments on that post. Like, I just know that you guys came through. Could just feel it, you know, and I'm sure some of you guys said a prayer and didn't comment, and, you know, I want to recognize you guys as well. I super appreciate every one of you. You guys have no idea. You guys are definitely, you know, my little family over here, and I just appreciate all of you guys. And I hope you guys are having a better day than I am. And that's it. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Bye, guys.